It's been almost 2 years since season 1, and it's nice to have this show back. What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. As always, I'm reviewing the brand new show or movie on Netflix, and today's show is one that I was so excited for. Season 2 of The End of the Effing World. I need you all in the comments down below. Is this one you were looking forward to? Let's talk about it. So in Season 2, 2 years later, Alyssa dives headfirst into a new life just as a woman with a grudge sets out on a murderous quest for revenge. So in Season 1, we get introduced to these two very interesting and quirky and odd lead characters that go about life a bit differently than we do, but it was so relatable the way that the story brought those two together and allowed them to really come into their own. It was a great but different coming-of-age story, and the quirky nature of the storytelling was great. I love the dark comedy aspect. Season 1 worked very well for me. Didn't get to review it on this channel, but I do get to talk about Season 2, a season that I was a bit fearful for just because I did not know what route it was going to go down, so I'm going to refrain from heavy spoilers in this review, but to talk about the season, I do have to talk about one plot point involving the cliffhanger from last season, so if you haven't seen Season 1 and you don't want to know anything about Season 2, turn away now, or just go to the end when I give you guys the score. Okay, so obviously James is back this season. We figured he would be back. How is there going to be a Season 2 without the relationship, the dynamic between James and Alyssa? Okay, he's back. But the season does not start off with their relationship. It doesn't start off with their storyline kind of picking back up. In Season 2, Episode 1, we get a look at one of our new characters named Bonnie, who is setting out on this quest to avenge the death of her lover. Now, who is her lover? Well, can't figure it out. It is the man whose life was taken at the end of Season 1. So her quest is to take down James and Alyssa. But those two are obviously separated. We saw James last at the end of Season 1 fighting for his life. We did not know if he was going to survive or not. He comes back into the life of Alyssa, but Alyssa is a very different person now. She may have found someone else. She's creating this own new life that she's still a bit unsure of for herself. Yet, there's always a spark with a relationship so wonderful as theirs. And as soon as they lock eyes, as soon as they see each other for the first time in so long, they're off again on another quest, on another adventure of sorts when they come across the character of Bonnie. And that really is the conflict of this season, and that dynamic was portrayed so well. This season had a bit of a different tone than Season 1. Okay. Same tone, but it had a different feel to it. It's still quirky, it's still dark, the humor still works, but there is less humor and more emotion in this season. And yes, we were dealing with traumatic things in the first season, but we're dealing with possibly more traumatic things in this season, and they get less of a chance to be as quirky and as silly as they were in Season 1. But I kind of like that for character progression, and I like the fact that we're learning more about these two, and really these three, because there are kind of three main characters, and you see that in the first episode because it's all about her. It's all about the newcomer in Bonnie, and it is a story that I don't think a lot of people are going to love because we're sitting back going, okay, let's meet back up with our characters. But looking back at that Episode 1 that I wasn't the biggest fan of as it was happening, just because I'm like, I want to be back with our two main characters, I appreciate it so much more now because it gave her the setup that I think we needed to appreciate her a bit more and understand where she's coming from when we meet back up with the characters that we love. And their dynamic between the three is great. Now, is this a story with as many exciting elements as the first season? No. Is it one that is as fun as Season 1? No, and that's going to turn some people away, but I may actually appreciate Season 2 more than Season 1. I'm not saying I like it as much as Season 1, but the subtlety of everything, the very important themes that our characters are dealing with, depression, obviously, sadness, the emotion that runs through them, of course, the romance that starts to rekindle as they're on their road trip. You look at the filmmaking of the series, it's just really solid all the way around. I'm not going to sit back and say, well, the cinematography is top-notch television and the filmmaking is brilliant. No, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, it's really good, and the show looks great. I like the score. I like everything underneath it. It brings our characters together a bit more. And then we're just kind of flashing back and forward from past to future. We're learning even more about them than we did in season 1. And we understand where these characters have been in this time between 1 and 2. And we understand where they are now in their lives. And I love that. And you guys know me. I have issue with voiceover and thinking out loud throughout a show or a movie, giving the audience maybe too much exposition. It's like, no, we can figure that out. Please show us. Just don't tell us. I don't love it when shows do that, but you know what? This show, I can make an exception for, because by doing that, we learn more about these characters, and I like knowing their emotions in the moment, because they don't do the best job at displaying their emotion just because that's the kind of people we are. We all know people like that. Obviously, I'm a bit more emotive than some, but some maybe don't emote as well. So when they're using that technique for these two characters in particular, I think it's brilliant. And the way that they utilize voiceover in this show is probably better than any other show I've seen on Netflix. Truly, I mean that. And it's just a wonderful coming-of-age story. It shouldn't be a show that's intended for my age group, and I still don't believe it necessarily is. I'm not the target audience for a show like this, but it appeals to me. And I was so on board with this journey, and I was so interested to see where we were going to end up with these characters, and if what I was hoping was going to happen between the two happened. And not to say that I got that necessarily, but I was just so interested to see how this was all going to resolve, guys. I didn't even know if we needed to resolve the storyline in this manner. It was surprising. It really was, to see how these two characters live so differently than everyone else in the world, and how they're both dealing with their own tragedies. And then this new character comes in dealing with tragedy herself. She's not necessarily the bad guy. She's just been through a lot. You learn that in the first episode, guys. The End of the Effing World is a magnificent show on Netflix, and season 2 did nothing but make my interest in this show even higher. And it's just another show on Netflix that I think everyone should check out. If you love dark senses of humor, dark comedy with a bit of emotion and seriousness in there, I'm going to go 85 for season 2, man. What a show. Really enjoyed my time watching this. Flew through it like 20-something minute episodes, only at episodes. My goodness, this felt like no time, and that's exactly what you want when you're binging a series. Thank you all so much for watching this. If you enjoyed this review and you want to see more Netflix series review, let me know. Hit that thumbs up button for sure. And Disney Plus is coming soon. We'll be hitting all of those things in the world of streaming. You guys are truly the best. Lots of movies to talk about this weekend. And, of course, Rick and Morty / Watchmen on Sunday. I'll talk to you all soon.